What's up guys? Today we're going to be talking all about can you use stock or free public images on your website for contractors, because at the end of the day, if you don't have pictures, what are you going to do? Just not have a website? Check it out. I'll walk you through everything. Hey guys, this is Logan Shinholster with Contractor Growth Network, and today we're going to solve a question that I get asked all the time when I'm building a website for a client, and that is, well, what do I do if I don't have my own photos? And I say, first off, stop freaking out. You're coming at me kind of hot right now. I walk better with calmness. Now, if you're in a visual space, which if you're watching this, you are in a visual space. I always like to walk through, first off, the reason with people. I say, why don't you have your own images? Because they build these really, really nice upscale projects that they cost 80 grand, 100 grand, things like that, but they don't have any pictures of it. And it's just like if Ford or Chevy was going to sell you an $80,000 truck, but they said, oh, I can't show you any pictures of it. Like, that wouldn't work, right? Nobody would buy that. So you need to have images or pictures of your work. Now, I get it if you're smaller and you do painting, or it's like you're in and out in a day and you don't want to send like a professional photographer back into somebody's home for that stuff. But still, you need to pick a few feature projects each year and use those as collateral for the rest of, for the next couple years. So it's not like you're doing this on every single project. You just need to choose a few of them that are representative of your work and go from there. So let's just say you're starting the whole process of getting your shit together online. You've already obviously smashed the like button on this YouTube video, and now you're trying to build a website, but you don't have any images. What can you do? Well, there's three kinds of websites that I see when it comes to images in the contracting space. Now, the first one I'm going to show you, this is a client of ours that kind of ran in that situation where he's a remodeler. He had some photos, but we couldn't use all of his photos just because a lot of them were on his phone. So if you come on down, what you're going to see is, if you look under here in some of our work, what we do is we take his photos that he already has, and then we go on and try to find images that look similar to work that he's done, because the last thing that you want is to be up in New York or be up in South Dakota and your images on your website have palm trees in them and they're a very modern house from Miami. It just doesn't work out like that, and a lot of people think that, well, let me just show some pictures up there just because it's just representative, but people can sniff this stuff out very, very easily, and it's very obvious when stuff is stock imaging. So what you want to do is try to mix and match your stock photos with your real photos, and if your real photos totally suck, then you can't use stock images, because stock images are very high quality and the lighting is perfect and they're staged appropriately. So if you have some that you took on your Nokia 15 years ago and now you've got stock images of all like marble floors with a Ferrari in the middle of someone's foyer, it's gonna look like you're lying. And if you're lying, then nobody's gonna wanna hire you because there's a trust issue, all right? You can use stock images to represent your work. If somebody says, hey, look, oh wow, I like that bathroom, did you build that? It comes down to a morality issue, and if you say yes or no, I would always err on the side of no, but I can build you that. But it's not necessarily wrong to use, others' photos that are like, as long as they're like free and public domain. So the first way on websites is to mix and match your photos with stock photos. Or if you have no photos whatsoever, at least find stock photos that make sense for what you do in your demographic. All right? And that's what we did with his website, was we came in, a couple of these are stock, the rest of them are his real ones, but you want to go through and actually update it so that way it doesn't look like it's all fake stuff. So that's website number one. Website type number two is you only use your real images, which in this one, what you can see is they're real photos, but they're terrible, terrible photos, unfortunately. And it doesn't do him any justice, right? This one, like, they're all pixelated. It just shows like, hey, we can kind of do the work, but like you can't even see any of the detail in it. So if you only have photos like this, I would suggest not even using them, because what this is doing is it's just showing that you can do the work kind of, but like now that I look at this more, I would bet this is probably also stock images, because if you look at it, not too many people prepare a full-on meal and then stop and take a very high quality photo of it. It just doesn't work like that. So if you're going to use your own photos, make sure that they're an okay quality. If they're all pixelated, how we see on these sites, then it's gonna have a negative because it just shows that, it's, like if this is the quality of photos that you put up there, that's probably the quality of work that you do. It's all directly related to your brand and who you are. Also, one other side note, don't make your photos all different sizes. This just looks all in all, yeah. Like, one is this tall, one's that tall, one's that tall, and then one's a widescreen of a completely different space. Like, it makes no sense. So if there's no rhyme or reason, it looks like you're just throwing stuff together. Imagine what they're thinking when they go to hire you. There's no rhyme or reason to what you're building them. You're just throwing stuff together. You're just taking all these different subs and throwing them in it and just saying, hey, you figure it out. That's what you're putting off with the pictures that you're using. And the number 3 is going to be when you use stock images that are very clearly not your own, right? So this company up in Seattle, if I zoom in a little bit, if you see right there, that looks like a boardroom / painting. I don't even know what that thing is, but it's very clear that this is not something that they've done themselves. All right, so if you're gonna use stock images, again, make sure that you use ones that at least look like your work, because if we then go over to their gallery and we start to see all of their photos of their work, it's all it looks completely different than what those stock images are. So it's very obvious that it's not their own. So if you're gonna use stock images, again, use ones that look like yours. So those are the 3 different types of websites that we always see when it comes to photos is ones. If you're gonna use stock images, mix and match them and find ones of work that look like yours. Number 2 is gonna be if you use your own photos, which is fine, make sure they're all sized the same, make sure they're decent quality. Your iPhone these days will get you quality enough. Or website number 3 is gonna be stock photos that are very, very obvious that they're not yours. So that is kind of the caveat to all this. So now you're wondering, great, now I know what not to do, what should I be doing? There's 2 websites that we really use for stock images. And the first one is a paid website called Shutterstock. What you can do is you can come on in here and you can type in whatever you want and look for it. So remodeling, I don't know, we'll type in remodeling. And you can go through the images here and see what they got, right? So what you want to do is find images of work that's closely related to yours, okay? These images right here where it's like this half drawing, half not, it just looks pretty cheesy and it's pretty obvious that it's not yours. There is a time and a place for cheesy photos like this, which I'm not going to get into on this, but I would highly suggest, unless you know absolutely what you're doing, do not use images like this because it just shows it's not really your work per se. Now come on down, same with these, all the same stuff. These are another terrible representation where it's a bunch of business people using, it's a calculator from 1985 next to an iPhone, next to a blank clipboard, next to a bunch of paintbrushes. I don't know any scenario where you're ever gonna be in that situation and then you're gonna say, hey, Rick, stand above us, 15 feet above us and take a picture looking down. It just doesn't work like that. So again, it's very obvious that it's not you. Don't use these, but find ones that work for you. So if you've done other kitchens very close to this, that if you took this image right here and you mixed it in to the bunch, it's not gonna stand out like a sore thumb, then use that. All right, go ahead, spend the money, buy this stuff because it's well worth it. We also edit these on our end just to make them look a little bit different. We'll crop them differently, we'll add some filters just to make them look like they're a little bit more hand taken, by us versus us, all of our at-home photos that we took were all very dimly lit, and then randomly this really upscale one looks like we had the cast from The Matrix come in with the lights and work it all out. So make sure that your images just kind of go in line with the other ones. Shutterstock's a great option. Now you got another website called Pixabay, that this is another solid one, and they're all free. Now the only caveat to this is you're way more limited. Like this right here, this is going to be your bathroom, right? And for some reason, on the TV in the bathroom, they put, I think, Home Alone on the screen. So if you're trying to put off that vibe that, we build upscale stuff and you got Macaulay Culkin looking over you, you're golden, but you need to make sure that you are using images again that are representative of what you do. Pixabay is good. It's going to give you some free stuff, but as I scroll through this, you'll start to see that it's very limited. This is just a fat guy on his phone. I have no idea how this relates to remodeling, but it does in some way. So those are the two things I would go for, is either use Shutterstock or check out Pixabay. But either way, long story short, you should be having your own photos. All right, you should be, if you're doing big projects, go back, hire a photographer to do it. And one other trick is, if you are, for some reason, if somebody's remodeling their kitchen to sell, you can always go back and get realtor photos, because those are usually staged properly and they look nice, and use those on your site. So if you're gonna use stock photos because you don't have your own, that's fine. Make sure that you mix and match. Find ones that look like yours. Don't use super low quality ones to try to stretch them out. And last but not least, don't make them unbelievably obvious that they are not yours. And you can go and find ones that work for you on Shutterstock.com or Pixabay.com. Hit the like button if you've ever thought about using a stock photo before, which is gonna most likely be everybody watching this, because I do it as well. Okay, it happens, guys. Thank you very much. Good luck.